Hello folks, Chad Stanton here, a professional woodworker of over 25 years, sharing my experiences with you. First of all, I'd like to say if you're new to my channel, well, thank you for watching, and if you find this interesting, please like and subscribe. In the last 6 months, I personally have been introduced to things like ChatGPT, Google Bard, Midjourney, Adobe Firefox, and now there's this thing called Apple Vision. Now, why would any of that be an interest to a guy like me? Well, I'm realizing as a small furniture shop, some of this technology might be at an advantage to me. Things like laser engravers, CNCs, 3D printers. All these things offer a technology that might keep me current and semi-relevant with some of the things and features that my clients might want on their furniture. So that brings me to today's video. I just got this in the mail yesterday. Now, this company did reach out to me, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if I'm saying their name right. I'm going to say Atezr. They asked me if I would be interested in their new 24-watt laser engraving machine. Now, right away, I told them, like I tell all the other companies that reach out to me, one, I'm going to give it an honest review. If there's something about it that's giving me trouble or I don't like it, I'm going to point it out. I'm not going to complain, but I'm going to point it out and make the viewer aware of what's giving me some trouble. The other thing that I told them was, I am by no means an expert in this field and technology of laser engraving. I am just at the very infancy of it. And they were okay with both. And what that tells me right off the bat, that a company feels pretty confident about the product that they've made. But that's for me to open this up and find out. So let's get to it. Here's everything you see out of the package. Right away, a couple of things I noticed was it comes with a little monitor. This is definitely a big laser cutting head on it. And what I thought was interesting was it gives me this, this mat to put down so I don't cut through into my table or anything, which is a nice little feature that I haven't had before. So my impressions right out of the box, well, the box was of a decent size and you could see it was packaged really well. The box alone weighed over 30 pounds. It was 31.2 pounds. And you can tell already in it that it's made of some decent gauge aluminum. This is not plastic. Now, I will admit I was a little disappointed. Because of the size of the box, I thought maybe it was already pre-assembled or maybe just a little bit of assembly was required. This looks like there's a little bit of work in front of me. Now, right off the bat, I did notice that they got a bunch of bags of screws and they've labeled them like step 1, step 2, step 3. So that's kind of nice. I'm not going to have to go matching up the size of a screw with the, the size in the book or whatever. And there appears to be only like 10 bags, so maybe this setup won't take that long. The installation manual is of a moderate size. The pictures in it are pretty clear, right off the bat. But then I noticed the user guide is quite big. I like the size of this. This is something that will easy for me to read, and I won't lose it, unlike some smaller pieces of material. So at this point, I'm not going to bore you with watching me put it together. I will time myself, and I also, too, will make notes or maybe film a certain part that if it seems difficult to put together or if the directions kind of don't match with what I'm actually trying to do, I'll definitely film that and let you know on it. But other than that, I have to do some research on it. I don't know the capabilities of this laser engraver at all. I don't know if it has its own software or if I can use other software for it. So I've got my homework in front of me to do, but I'll get back and let you know. So steps 2 through 4 have given me a little bit of trouble. So you get a rod that comes with it, and the rod goes the whole length of this piece here, and the rod gets inserted here, but you'll find it doesn't go in very far because you have to, let's see if I can get you in here. Through this hole, there's like a collar with a Allen screw through it, and you have to loosen the Allen screw and push the rod through, but we're not done yet. Okay, so that previous step, I had it upside down. You can see that was the foot I was going through for that first Allen wrench. So you need to loosen that one, and then your rod is going to slide, continue sliding down. And again, we have 2 collars down here, so you're going to loosen that Allen wrench, or that Allen screw, and slide it in. But don't tighten them up at this point. Okay, so now at this point, with the Allen nuts loose, I'm going to turn it around. And do you see these pieces here? Well, this is going to be, I don't know what it's called, but that bridge that's going to go across it. And these have to move together at the same time. So what I did was I pushed it all the way down so they bottomed out. It can't go anymore. Then I tightened this Allen nut on this collar here. Then I came down and I went in and tightened both of those Allen nuts. And so now it moves exactly at the same time together. I don't think the directions were very clear in that, so I want to point that out. If you tighten them and these aren't in the same alignment, you're going to have all kinds of problems. So I'm at step 8, and it's telling me to install the limit switch. And you can see they highlight in red the part or the function that they want you doing, but it's given me an idea where it should go. That's not a problem. I figured that out pretty easy, but I wasn't sure which way the piece should be flipping or facing. So I'm just using a little bit of common knowledge. I'm hoping you can hear. Let's see. I don't know if you can hear that, but there is a little switch here, and so I imagine the switch needs to be facing this direction because when this piece comes back, you can see it bumps into it. So to me, that makes the most logical sense. That's the direction it should be facing. I think that should be just a little bit more clear. All right, so my little screen popped up here, and let's take a look at settings. Okay, and see it's on the fast mode. Autofocus is on. About, okay, don't care. And then I said I don't care. All right, so let's go back. Let's see what Engrave offers us. Looks like a couple manuals, high-speed test. And so you can hear the laser machine is making some noise. I'm just going to go ahead with the high-speed test. So just push the button. It says auto-focusing. You can see it going up and down a little bit. Now I got a piece of 1/2-inch plywood down there. I'm curious if it's going to go all the way down. Yeah, it's you probably can't see it. I think it's a little bit out of the way. Let me see if I can move this in some. There you go. It's really close to the wood. I can see a tiny little laser on down in there. Not sure what these lights represent on it. And not sure how the laser, looks like it's supposed to be like some kind of aligning laser there. I'm not sure how that works because the laser is actually right in the middle. Oh, okay, so I've been waiting. It said autofocus failed, so it was closed. I wonder why that's all about. Let's try it again. All right, I think I got it to work this time. I think I had the laser head way up too high on it. There's two screws here on the side. I don't think it had enough travel, so I moved it way down and it seemed to work. So here we go, let's try it again. The test, auto-focusing. Yeah, it's getting much closer this time. Oh, there it goes. It's starting. So I didn't put any of these settings in. It just popped up. So I'm not sure what this is. This 1 in 10%. I can see my power's at 100, speed's at 100, and this is telling me the progress of how far the test is going along. I think this has something to do with the lines per millimeter. I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at it, but you can see that thing's moving at a pretty good clip. So we'll come. Oh, I wanted to get my timer going. Shoot. Okay, we'll add like, say, a minute to it, but I'm gonna see how long it takes for it to print whatever the test print is. Okay, so we're 8 minutes into it, and we're just past halfway. 55% is done, or 55% to go, not sure which. I guess done. And you can see it's carving something. Not sure exactly what it is yet, but it's of a good decent size. So I'm glad I put a larger piece of plywood in there. So, all right, I will let you know what it comes to when it's done. So as you could see from that footage, the test piece that it was making was this giant eagle head, and it did this in 18 minutes, which I thought was pretty impressive of a time. Overall, it took me just over 41 minutes to put this together, and I think it would have gone faster if it wasn't for some of those problems that I was explaining to you. However, oddly enough, the very next day I saw that Atezr put out a video from them that is an assembly video. It's a pretty quick video, but you watch them put it together, and it pretty much shows you those points that I was trying to make clear to you in my video. So I'll make sure that link is below in the description if you'd like to go there and check out and see how they put theirs together. This laser machine has the ability to autofocus. So what that means essentially is the laser head has to be a certain distance away from your project material in order for you to get good results. But I found that sometimes I would hit the autofocus button and it would say it was way out of calibration, like it couldn't figure out the proper distance to be. Now it came with this little block that says fixed focus block, and there's a scale on it in millimeters, but again, I'm not sure exactly what that means, because you'll see that there's two screws here, and if I turn this, I can move this head up and down whatever I want. But then the machine itself, it will turn the motor here, moving it up and down so it autofocuses. So like, what distance do I initially set this at? So what I found was I took a piece of 3/4 inch block of wood and I rested it on there. I tightened the laser head, I guess, screws in, and whenever I did that and then asked it to autofocus on the material, it seemed to work just fine. So Hopefully some of the issues that I'm talking about in my video and in other videos that are coming out by other YouTubers, that Atezr will take this and maybe revise their manual or just have a more comprehensive PDF that people could follow that will help them get through this a lot easier. Another problem that I personally had was with the air assist. Now I thought that I could just turn the knob and the air would come on and I could adjust it. Now the air helps make cleaner cuts. It also helps cut down on the smoke in your shop, because with this being a 24-watt laser head, it does generate quite a bit of smoke. Unfortunately, again, in the manual, it didn't tell me how to make that work, and I had to look up online and some other videos with other machines. I need a G code to put into the software that will turn that on and off for me. Now, I believe I found the correct G code. I just haven't had time to practice it yet, so I can't I can't tell you yet if I actually have it working. But again, I think that would be something nice in the manual to help explain newbies like myself and maybe you. The other problem I had was when I was conducting some of my tests, you have the feature not only in whatever software you're using, whether it's Lightburn or Laser Gerbil, you can control the speed there, but you can also control the speed here on this little touchpad. And you have 3 settings. It's set primarily for standard, but there's also a fine, which goes slower, and then there's also a fast, which is the fastest it can go. And on a couple of my tests that I did, well, it was going so fast that it literally shook the connecting piece, not from the laser here, but for this arm that goes up and down, where it bolts onto here, inside, those screws all work themselves loose, so this laser head was wobbling all over. So I had to take this apart and definitely tighten those up. I put a little glue on them too, so hopefully it doesn't come loose again. But I've just decided I'm just not going to use it on the fastest mode. Obviously I'll get better results on the standard or the fine. Okay, so speaking of tests, let's talk about some of them. I have to say I was pretty impressed with the results of what this did, so let me show you. One of the things I like to make are refrigerator magnets with positive quotes on them. Now, besides the engraving of the letters, the machine will also cut out that shape for the magnet. So I wanted to run through a couple of tests to see how long it would take, how many passes, and so on. So starting off with the first material, which was just 1/4-inch plywood, I set the speed of the machine at 125, and I set the temperature of the laser at 475. Now I'm using laser Gerbil, so 475 is like 47.5% of the laser. So a full 100% of the laser in the software program would be 1,000. Why they round it up like that, I have no idea. So anyhow, at about 50%, it cut through this plywood in one pass, and it was very quick. So I stepped it up to some 1/2-inch plywood. Now with the 1/2-inch plywood, if I kept the settings the same for the 1/4-inch, it makes sense that it would cut through in 2 passes going around. But I was curious if I could get it to cut in 1 pass. So again, let's see, I turned the speed up to 150, and I turned the temperature up to 900 or 90%. And it did. It cut through in 1 clean pass. So then I decided to ramp it up to 3/4-inch plywood. And my first setting, I did it at 200 was the speed, 100% for the laser, or 1,000 in that program. And it did cut through. It took 4 passes, but if you can see, I got a little burning on there. It just got a little too hot. So I went back and I changed some things. I changed the speed to 250. I turned it down to 600 or 60%, and I made 8 passes, and it came out nice and clean. I was pretty impressed with it. However, I do want to say this. I've said it before. I don't really care for cutting out thick material on my laser machine because you get all this soot on the edge, the charring on it. I don't know if you necessarily want that on your project when it's done. So if I really have to do any thick cutting of stuff, I'll probably set up my CNC machine for that. But for this 1/4 inch stuff, or maybe 1/2 inch, I don't know, this machine could do it. Oh, one last thing I want to say about the power of this laser. Remember I told you they gave me some sheet metal to put down so I don't burn through my project and into, say, my tabletop? Well, not being familiar with this machine and not being familiar with the settings, yeah, it did prevent from burning my tabletop, barely. If you take a look at the back side here, it just about burnt through this metal, and that wasn't even at the full capabilities of this. So this is one impressive laser machine. So let's talk about some projects. Now, besides little refrigerator magnets, I wanted to do something different. So I first did a design in Inkscape, and I'm a fan of Frank Lloyd Wright, so I kind of wanted to make like some kind of grid work pattern like his. And so I came up with this. Now, the machine did just fine engraving those lines on it, but then I realized, well, I wanted to pierce through this. I wanted to make like a grid work from it. And obviously the way I did it here, if I kept cutting with those lines, it's just gonna burn through and all these pieces will fall out. So I had to make grid work. So going back in the Inkscape, it took me a little bit of time to figure it out, but I was able to do it. Now, what's really neat about not only this, but a whole bunch of other things you can do by making grid work like this. For example, I mean, this by itself, you could just hang it on the wall and it would look nice. Or I can scale this up and put this in a cabinet door with some glass behind it. That would look great. Or I can make these small like little medallions and just kind of route them and recess them into like the side of a leg of a table or something. There's just a whole lot of opportunities that this can do. Now, the laser machine made and cut this out in about 26 minutes. And it was pretty nice because while it was busy doing this, I was working on another job. So this is a pretty handy machine to have. But going forward with this, well, I decided that I'm going to turn it into a project, and I had a bright idea. I'm going to turn this grid into a lamp. Let me show you right now. To make my lamp, I started off by printing 4 of these grid work patterns, all the exact same size and height. After that, then, I took some spray shellac and I sprayed that on the outside of it. It dried really quick. Then after that, I had some old rice paper that had been laying around for like 15 years, and I finally found another use for it. So with some 3M spray adhesive on the back side, I sprayed the glue and then just simply stuck it down on my paper and cut it out, leaving me one of these grid works. With the paper on my grid pieces, the next thing I decided I wanted to do was to put some posts on the end of it. Now I've cut these a little long, but I didn't want to just try and glue this little edge of the 1/4 inch against the post itself. So what I wound up doing was I cut just a very small dado in there on the table saw, so when my panel goes in it, I can get some glue in there, and I think this is going to make it a stronger joint. So I'm in the process now of gluing the panel into the post. You probably can't tell on the camera, but I'm keeping the top of the panel flush with the posts, but down here at the bottom, the post is a little bit longer. It's about heavy 1/8, maybe a 3/16 of a gap at the bottom. With the grids all dried in the post, what I'm doing is I'm going to set it on here, and I measured equal distance going around, and then I'm taking my pencil and I'm tracing around the post. And then what I'll wind up doing is I'm going to route or notch down into these. That way the posts sit down into the base here. Here's my bottom plate all notched out, and the idea is that when this fits on here, it's going to be flush to the bottom, no gaps. All right, now I'm going to make the top for this lantern. So as usual, I'm going to make a design change on my project so far. And here's why. So I've made the top, and the top was made exactly the same way as I did the bottom. I cut it to size, I put the little chamfer on it. The only difference is it's just not as thick as the bottom. I also hooked up my electrical lighting to it. Now I'm using an LED light bulb, so it's not going to generate very much heat, so I don't have to worry about my paper catching on fire. The other thing too is I'm not going to show you how to hook up the wiring on this. Electricity is one of those things that if you're not familiar with doing it, you can severely injure yourself or possibly even kill yourself. But trust me, there's plenty of videos out there that will show you how to hook up a simple light. Very, very easy. Okay, so the idea was that the top was going to get glued onto this. And then this was just going to set on the bottom. That way, if I ever wanted to change the light bulb in the future, I would just simply lift this off and have access to the light. But I found that if someone is unfamiliar with how this light is constructed and they go to move the light, well, they're going to quickly realize they're going to, mess up the bottom. They're going to lose the bottom. The other thing, too, is when I turn the light on, actually, it doesn't look too bad on camera here, but the bottom is more lit than the top. And I kind of wanted this a little bit more even with light going on it. So I think I'm going to put another light that's going to hang down from the bottom of the top. And then what I'll do is I'm going to glue these in place, and I'm just going to use some trim head screws to screw through this and into the post. These LED lights I think will last for many, many years, so it'll probably be a long time before I have to change the light bulbs. So that's what I'm going to do, hopefully to make this brighter and to make it more secure so this doesn't come apart. As you can see, the Atezr 24-watt laser engraving machine is a pretty amazing thing to have. In fact, I couldn't even imagine trying to make this grid work with the scroll saw. It would take way too long, and I would probably break a bunch of those grids in the process. If you're interested in this machine or more information about it, I have a whole bunch of links down there below in the description box. In fact, this machine has inspired me to make a project that I've been wanting to do for a while. I really wasn't sure how I was going to do it until now, and this machine has inspired me. If you'd like to see more videos on laser projects, let me know below in the description. But don't worry, I have some other woodworking videos coming up, especially some geometry ones. So until next time, in the immortal words of Tom Bodett, I'll leave the light on for you.